Welcome back to All Things Creepy. I'm your host, Micah James, and this week we are talking about some unusual deaths. The thing that kind of inspired me to talk about this topic was, honestly, it kind of was just that old show 1000 Ways to Die. 1000 Ways to Die has a lot of very weird deaths that some of them are very obviously fake. They have the potential to actually happen. Maybe it did happen to someone, but some of the deaths just clearly weren't about anyone specific. But there were a few that seemed like, okay, that seems pretty realistic. So I wanted to look into some of them, which led me down the rabbit hole of looking into unusual deaths. All of my main sources will be linked in the show notes as usual. The first person we are talking about was actually featured on the show, and that is Sigurd the Mighty. He ended up passing away in 892. He was a Norse nobleman and Earl of Orkney. By the end of the 9th century, he was able to defeat his arch nemesis, Maelbricht. Please correct me because I know I most likely pronounced that wrong. Anyways, the Earl ended up attaching Mael's head to the horse's saddle and rode off. When a horse is running, it can get very bumpy. So it's no surprise that one of the dead man's teeth scraped against the warrior's leg. This scrape ended up becoming infected, and in the 800s, medicine was nowhere near what it was today. So this infection ultimately led to his death. And this is all because he didn't strap down the dead man's head. Unusual death number 2 is the Dancing Plague of 1512. A small town was plagued with this mysterious happening. It started with one person who started dancing, seemingly for no reason whatsoever. People did try to stop this person from dancing, but no matter what they did, this person just couldn't stop. Eventually, up to 400 people were dancing. The other townspeople who were not affected did try to help them. And no matter what they did, no matter what kind of help the other townspeople tried to give them, it would not help with the ailment. People ended up collapsing from exhaustion while others died from strokes or heart attacks. While this instance is probably the most famous, it also isn't the only instance of a dancing plague. Many were affected in Europe between the 14th and 17th centuries, and no one to this day still knows why or how this happened. Number 3 is Qin Shi Huang in 210 BC. He was the first emperor of China and was able to unify the country. He was also the emperor to give the country the Great Wall and the Terracotta Army. The emperor was drawn to the idea of immortality, so he had his alchemists give him an elixir that could give him just that. The downside, though, is that these pills were made out of mercury. As we know today, mercury is very poisonous and dangerous for humans, so he ended up dying very soon after starting this quote-unquote treatment. Number 4 is Hans Steininger in 1567. Hans was the chief magistrate of Braunau, essentially the mayor. Something else that he was also known for was his beard. It sat at 4.5 feet long, and with a beard that long, you would think that he would try to tie it up while he walked or just somehow be more careful when he did, but he didn't. He would find himself walking somewhere, and he ended up tripping over it, and it led to his neck breaking. Number 5 is Crispus of Soli. He ended up passing away in 206 BCE. This death can't be fully confirmed as it happened in ancient history, but to die the way he did is fully possible. He was attending some sort of banquet or party at the age of 73. He was watching a donkey munch upon some figs, which he found pretty entertaining. He ended up ordering someone to give the animal some wine to wash down the figs. They did, and now you have a drunk man and a drunk donkey. The philosopher found this so funny, he ended up laughing himself to death. As I said, this cannot be fully confirmed nor fully denied that this actually happened to the philosopher. However, you are able to die from laughing. It's usually due to asphyxiation or cardiac arrest. Number 6 is Draco of Athens. In 620 BCE, Draco was smothered to death by cloaks and hats that were gifted to him by appreciative citizens at a theater. Number 7 is St. Lawrence. He died in 258. He was roasted alive on a giant grill during the persecution of Valerian. It is said that he was joking with his tormentors. His reported last words were, "Turn me over. I'm done on this side." Now he is known as the patron saint of cooks, chefs, and comedians. Number 8 is James Betts. He died in 1667. James died from asphyxiation, which in and of itself isn't too strange, but the way he ended up dying was a little out of the ordinary. He was hidden in the cupboard by Elizabeth Spencer in an attempt to hide him from her father, John Spencer, and he just ended up not getting enough air in the cabinet and, asphyxiated. Number 9 is the Great Molasses Flood of January 15th, 1919. Basically, a large tank of molasses burst in Boston, which ended up killing 21 people and injured 150 others. Number 10 is Gouverneur Morris on November 6th, 1816. The reported reason for his death is dubious at best, but even so, it's not super out of the realm of possibility. Morris had a urinary tract blockage. To help it, a whalebone was used to clear it, and it gave him an infection, and that's what he died from. I don't know exactly how the whalebone was used or even fitted to go up his urethra, basically, but please do not try that at home. Don't put anything up your urethra that shouldn't go up there. And finally, number 11 is John Komnenos on April 1st, 1143. This is a death that you might end up seeing in a comedy film. John II was out hunting boars using poison arrows. You can kind of see where this is going already. He ended up cutting himself with one of them and died from the infection, just essentially poisoning himself. It's not funny. I'm not saying it's funny, but it really kind of is one of those deaths that you will see someone, like, they might accidentally lick their knife that's poisonous. And so maybe that's where that trope comes from. And to top it off, it did happen on April 1st. So it's just like a very cruel joke that was played on John. I am more than willing to do a part 2 on this because there are so many unusual deaths out there. So if there's one that you do want me to cover or one that you just want me to go in depth on, please let me know. And if you become a patron, any fan suggestions that I get will get top priority. I will do my best to get to all of them, regardless if you're a patron or not. But for me to cover your fan suggestion, all you got to do is pledge $1 and I will get to your submission. If there's anything else you want me to go over, again, Patreon will be the best place to submit your fan suggestions. But you can also reach me on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Gmail. All of that will be in the show notes along with the articles that I read for this episode. I will see you soon for the next episode of All Things Creepy. Be safe out there, guys.